Hello, cat lovers, or I guess cat haters that maybe just want to learn how to make an app using an API. Either way, well, welcome to this video series here. This is going to be a series of 3 videos overviewing how to make a simple app that pulls in pictures from an online service and allows you to, favorite them. And from there, if you wanted to learn more, you can kind of take off and learn more, but that's what we're going to learn in ours. So this will be the final product. We have this simple interface here, just a top header saying cat pictures. We're pulling in about 20 pictures, and when you click this, the navigation comes out, and you can view your favorited cat pictures. Click back to the feed, and you can see when you click on them, that is when it favorites them with a simple yellow bar underneath. And then when you go back to your favorites, you come in here and look at it. You can view all of your favorite ones. Say I actually don't like this one of, I don't know, these two. You can click on them and the favorites will go away. So all of this is being stored in a local database. The feed is being pulled from, actually took something from catapi.com, I believe. It's an online web service that provides cat pictures. They only provided it in a certain format though, and so I'm hosting it on my own server for this tutorial so that we can pull it in a JSON format. So let's go ahead and we're going to get started with the basic setup and the structure of the look of everything before we get into any JavaScript. So for this first tutorial, we're going to get our basic setup where you can click and view the menu coming in and out. You have this header, and we'll just use a couple of sample images to show the width and the spacing and all of that, because these do scale depending on what your screen size is going to be on your phone. That's one of the fun things about using HTML to code apps. And then once we have everything how it is right now, we're going to go ahead and package that actually to publish it to the app stores. And I'm going to be using Adobe's, oh, I always forget the name, PhoneGap service to package the whole thing. And you can package it from multiple devices at once, which is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and get started with the HTML portion of this. Let me close this down. I have my text editor open, Mad Max in the background. So with the text editor open, I've created a new folder on my desktop called Cat App. And I use Komodo Edit 8.5. That's just the version. Komodo Edit, it's my favorite one. You can use any text editor you want. But inside of here, I'll create a new file and call it index.html. This will get me my basic HTML file. So we'll go ahead and put together the structure for this. I know that I need a couple of pages, one for my feed and one for my favorites. I want my header, and then of course I want a place that I can go through and put in the navigation links. So first things first, let's get our doc type set up. So doc type HTML, that'll be HTML5. And our HTML tags, my header tag, and my body tag. So this is the basic, everything HTML. I will put a title inside of here. We'll call it cat pictures. And the cool thing about developing this way as well, I'm going to talk while I type, and then I'll explain, is that if you wanted to, you could use this as a mobile website in addition to having a couple of apps published. So depending on what you're doing with your app, you can actually, use this so that anybody, even people that don't have the specific phone type you're shooting for, Windows phones, who I never build for, can still view your mobile site. And it'd be pretty similar to the app environment. Let's see, Apple Mobile Web App Capable. So all of this is going to keep it for those mobile guys, or if they just don't have your app installed in general. All right, let's put in our style sheet. So all of this should be things that you know. If you don't, I'd recommend going back to some of the other tutorials and learning basic HTML, CSS. And we're going to stop there. I know that we're going to be adding JavaScript later, but this tutorial is over the CSS portion of it. Here we go. We have all the basic information put in. The meta name viewport, content width is device width, initial scale 1 and maximum 1. What this does is it makes it so that your app does not scale. So if you go to pinch to zoom or anything like that, it's not going to pinch to zoom because that's something that more is for websites, not so much if you want to create an app-like environment. So the pinch to zoom feature is going to be disabled with that. You have meta name, Apple Mobile Web App Capable. This is actually if you were using this as an HTML5 app and you weren't planning on publishing it to the App Store. So this is going to be used for, if you do want to put this on the web, in addition to the App Store, people can actually, with Apple phones, they can get more of an app-like experience with that put in there. And then, of course, I'm linking out my style sheet. So let's go ahead and set up our body. I'm going to put in a wrapper here. I don't think I actually need it for this one, but I always put in a wrapper just because at some point you might need to have a wrapper around all of your content in case you want to add padding or do anything special. All right, so I'm coming in here. I've got my wrapper. I'm going to put in my header and just a simple logo for the header, class equals logo, and I'm just going to put in text. I'm not going to add any images for the logo or anything. So I've got my header, class equals logo, cat pictures is what I'm calling this app. And then we're going to need our content inside of here. So div class content. I like to space things out nice and pretty. Div class equals page, and the ID is going to be feed. So we're going to have our multiple pages set up. I like to comment out the end of my divs here. That way I know where everything's at. So we're going to have multiple pages set up though. These pages aren't actually going to hold any content. As we code out the HTML, we're going to insert all of that content using JavaScript. But these pages, we're going to style the page class as a whole so that every page looks consistent, but then we give it a different ID. That way we can show the ID of feed. Let me go ahead and enter in the next one. Class equals page, ID equals faves. Whenever we click on our favorites link, we're going to show the ID of faves and hide feed. So giving it these IDs will give us the option to show and hide things like we should be able to. So this is actually the basic setup for the app that we're doing because we only have 2 pages. So div ID of feed, div ID of faves. Let's go below the wrapper here and set up our navigation. So div ID equals nav. I could also use the nav element. I've just gotten into a bad habit of using old school stuff. So div ID of nav and div ID equals nav menu. This is to get some good spacing in there and make it look pretty. Nav menu. All right, let's add in our 2 links for our navigation. I'm going to go ahead and do the hashtag and add the word feed inside of there. Call it feed. And href faves. And I'm going to be using those hrefs for, sorry, typing and talking. Okay, so I'll be using each of these to call the ID so that I know which ID I need. All right. The last thing I want to put in here is a simple background for my navigation. You saw it kind of got darker in the background whenever my navigation was pulled out. So I'm going to add in an ID for my nav background. All right. So this is actually the basic setup of everything. If you want to test it out, let's see, I think I hit it. Let me grab Chrome here. That's about mobile size. So I can just drag that file into Chrome and test it out, which right now it should not look like much. And it actually doesn't have Come here, sweetheart. There you go. All right. So cat pictures is the title of it here, and feed and favorites. So now that we have got the basic HTML set up, let's go ahead and go in and put in all of our CSS. All right, so the first thing we need to do for our CSS is actually create the CSS file. I have it linked out, the main.css here. Inside of Komodo Edit, I can hold down Command and click on that, and it'll actually ask to create the file for me. If you're not using Komodo Edit or your editor doesn't allow you to do that, just create a main.css file, and that'll be plenty sufficient. Now with those linked out, I'm going to copy and paste some stuff in here, and I'll include this code. This is basically a complete reset for the CSS file, so there's not going to be any margins put in, anything like that. It's going to reset your entire page. See, there it goes. All my margins and padding disappeared. And this will give you just a fresh, clean start with your CSS file. All right, so now I'm actually going to go in and start formatting this. First, let's do the HTML and the body tag. I'm going to set my font family, and we'll have it be Verdania Sans Serif. All right, so that's just going to give me a different font style because I'm not a fan of the default here. So there's my font. All right, let's go ahead, and I like to work my way from the top and on down to the bottom. So I've got my index here, and I've got the wrapper's the first thing, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. The header is what I'm going to start with. So I've got the header element. Let's go ahead and give that some style. I'm going to set the width to 100%. The height is going to be 60 pixels. You want it nice and fat for fingers touching phones and things like that. Display of block. I am going to actually position this at the top. We're going to give it a fixed position. Now the difference between a fixed position and a absolute position, the absolute position when you scroll, it will go with the page. The fixed position when you scroll, it'll stay exactly where it's at. So content can scroll behind it and our header will stay in place. So I've got the position of fixed. The top location is going to be 0 pixels. We're going to set it to 0 pixels on the left. And let's go ahead and give it a background. Just a nice background color. And we'll put a box shadow on it. That way it's got a nice effect underneath as well. It makes it pop off the page a little bit. Now for the box shadow, what I'm setting here is 0 and 0 are going to be how the box or how the shadow comes off of the box. So I believe this is the X and Y position of it. So if I were to set it to 5 and 5, the box shadow would be to the bottom right of the box. 0 and 0 just keeps it directly behind the box. 4 pixels is the amount of blur it's going to have on it. And there's some RGBA 0.4. That's setting the color. I can just do this and it will be black, but by using the RGBA value, the 000 equals black as well, but 0.4 is opacity. So I can actually make it slightly opaque, which is nice. And the final thing I want to do here is set my z-index. Z-index is going to put it in front of other elements. So I'm just putting it to 10 because I don't know, it's higher than 1. The z-index goes from 0 to whatever you need it to. So we've got this set up, and let's go ahead and style the logo element. So if you remember this cat pictures right here, we have that set as our logo. I just want that to be a nice clean look. I don't want that blue with the underline and all that. So I'm going to set the height of this to 60 pixels as well. That way it oh, I figured down my space after that. You don't have to, but it looks pretty. The height of 60 pixels, again, is going to be good for your fingers and when you're touching things. If you set the line height of that same element to 60 pixels, that's actually going to put the text aligned in the center vertically. So instead of our text being at the top of the 60 pixel block, it's going to be in the middle of it. And I'll play with that in a second to show you what that looks like. We're going to set the display as block. make the color black. Text decoration none is going to give us no underline. And let's give it some padding to bring it off the page a bit. All right, so if we go ahead and refresh this and look at it, you'll see cat pictures and all that. Again, let me play with the line height real quick. I'll just set that back to 0 so you can see. Normally it would be up there. 60 pixels brings it right in the middle. It splits the difference. So that just gives us a nice style to it. There's a nice large target area for clicking on it, and that'll give us what we need when we set up our navigation coming up here. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our navigation. If you'll notice, our links for the other things went underneath it because it's a fixed position. All right, Nav Menu is what I call that baby. So we're going to start styling this right here. Nav Menu's up first. All right, so we've got our Nav Menu. I'm going to set the width of that to 300 pixels. And make sure the maximum, yeah, I'm not going to play with that actually. I have something in my thing that has a max width of 90 pixels, but 300 pixels is plenty, it's fine. All right, I'm going to set the height to 100%. That way it goes all the way down the screen. Padding top. Now this is important right here because we have this header that's always going to be in that fixed position and it's 60 pixels high. So if we did not have a padding top, those links that we have inside of there are going to be underneath the header still. So adding a padding top to this nav menu area, let me hop over. Adding the padding top to the nav menu is going to add some padding so that when we have our feed and favorites links, they show up instead of being hidden behind the header. So we have that. I'm going to set box sizing. This is a neat little thing here. To border box. What that does is no matter how much padding we add or anything like that, it's going to keep the height at 100% and the width at 300 pixels. So with the all right, so I was talking about the box sizing. There might be a little break in the video. I'm not 100% sure. My daughter brought me some fresh juice, which is a benefit from working from home and a disadvantage when you're recording, but it's all good. All right, so box sizing set to border box. Oh yes, so what it's going to do is with this height at 100%, if I added padding top to 60 pixels, what would happen is it would fill up 100% and then go down 60 pixels below. So you'd always have kind of this weird larger box thing happening. So setting the box sizing to border box is going to keep that height at 100% no matter what padding you add to it. So it's a pretty neat little feature and lets you do quite a bit. All right, and after that box sizing, we're going to go ahead and set the display equal to block. There we go. Let's give it a nice background color here. I've kind of predetermined that this is a nice color that I want. That F5, F2, F2 is kind of a grayish. Set the position to fixed, just like our header. That way, if there's scrolling in the background or anything like that, you'll still have the navigation appearing full screen like it should be. Okay, and so this right here is going to be kind of interesting. I'm going to set the left position of this to negative 90%. What that is going to do, actually I need to do negative 300 pixels because I changed something here. Negative 300 pixels. What that will do is that will completely hide our navigation to the left of the screen. So if our thing is this large right here, what it will do is it'll make it to where it's this large over here and you can't see it. And what we're going to do with that is whenever you click on the logo, it's going to slide over that entire box. So we got our left set to that negative 300 pixels. Top is going to be 0. And the Z index will set to 9, so it will appear behind our header there. And then let's just add a little bit of style. Border right. This is just going to make it look pretty. 888, 1 pixel solid. opacity 0.99. That kind of gives you a neat little opaque effect. And then we have what we call transition. Transition is how you animate with CSS3. So transition, all that means you're going to be any changes you make between nav menu and what we're going to have called nav show. You'll be able to like for instance, we have the left set to negative 300 pixels. When we show it, we're going to have the left set to 0. So it's going to animate that out to the 0 pixel position instead of the negative 300, which will make more sense probably when you see it, but the transition is what makes that actually happen. It's going to transition it for 0.5 seconds, and ease is the type of flow, I guess, the type of movement that the transition takes. And it's just a nice, I don't know, eases on out. It's exactly how it sounds. I don't know how to describe that. So what we're going to do here, we got the nav menu set up. And if we refresh this, you can't see it because it's hiding. If we set the left to 0, I don't know if that negatives. Yeah, there we go. You can see it and it'll show outwards. All right. What we'll do is that nav element that we have containing everything with the ID of nav, we're going to give that a class. So if the nav has the class of show on it, and that child element of nav menu, we're going to add in some different properties here. So we'll set the left to 0 again so that you can actually see the darn thing. And we're also going to change the box shadow a bit. Again, this is just kind of to make it look pretty. So RGBA 000 0.8. There we go. So setting that, we have it coming out the left, the box shadow is going to change, and that all happens when you add the class of show. So I'm going to refresh it, and I'll come in here and add a class to my nav so you can just see the differences between the two. Now you're not going to see an animation because you're not adding the class dynamically, but you will see what it looks like when it comes out. All right. So we have that set in there. Let me refresh. And the final thing that we want to do with our navigation menu is style those anchor elements. Let me go ahead and add my class of show back in so we can see what the links look like. All right, so I'm going to use that outside div of nav menu to control the look of all of my anchor elements. So nav menu A is going to find all the anchor elements within that div of nav menu, and we'll style them all at once. I'll set the display equal to block. The color, again, this is all just making it look pretty. 8B, 8B, 8B. I've determined that that's the color I like. Text decoration, didn't get the right one there. There we go. Set that to none because I don't like the underlines on my links. Border bottom is going to be, looks like I have the same thing set up here. 8B, 8B, 8B. That must be a cool color. I don't remember, honestly. And padding of those elements is 15 pixels. So what we got here is just a nice padding on it, 15 pixels all the way around. It's going to be good for your fingers and touching things. So feed and favorites, I've got my 2 links set up, and we're good to go from here. Let's go ahead and just so that you guys can see what things look like, we are going to add in a little bit of JavaScript in this tutorial. And that way you can kind of see everything. Let me take off that class equals show. All right, and let me add in our JavaScript. So I'm going to enter down a couple of lines here and say script type equals text/JavaScript. The source is going to be jQuery.js. I need to add that in there. And then I can copy and paste that entire line and go to and add in one for all my functions. That's just what I call it. Different people call it different things. jQuery is the JavaScript library we're going to be using to develop any of our JavaScript. It is a it's written, jQuery is written in JavaScript, but jQuery is not like original raw JavaScript. It's much easier to write. It's better for kind of learning and beginners and whatnot before you dive your head too much into raw JavaScript. And it's just kind of easy to set up. They've got a lot of really cool functions already built in, so you don't have to write them yourself. All right. So what we want to do is we want to go grab that jQuery JavaScript library. To do that, just open up your browsers here. And I'm not going to put a link in the description or anything because you should know how to Google. All right. So I'm going to type in jQuery library. All right. Download jQuery right there, second result. You can download, I would download 2.x, that's the newest one, and download the compressed version. If you look at the differences, compressed is just a smaller file size, but if you open it up to look at the file, you're not going to be able to understand a word of what it says. But it's not that big of a deal. So we'll go to Save Link As, and I'll come in here to my desktop, cat app, and save that. There we go. So it's saved jQuery-2.1.1.min.js. You can leave it that name if you want to. Just be sure to rename it here, or you can rename your file to just simply jQuery. There we go. So now we have our jQuery file linked. It's good to go. If you want to look at it, that's what it looks like. Have fun with that. And now we need our functions one. So again, I'm just going to command click that functions.js and create it for me because that's how Komodo is. If not, just create your functions.js file inside of the same folder. And the first thing we want to do is set up our document. So inside of jQuery, hold on, let me write this out first and then we'll talk. There we go. When coding with jQuery, what it does is everything in JavaScript and jQuery, a lot of it manipulates your what are called DOM elements. These are all DOM elements: header, anchor, div, body. They're all just different elements inside of your HTML, to put it in layman's terms. The JavaScript, I'm waiting for my document, which is going to be this index.html because that's where I'm linking it from. I need to wait for it to be ready, basically, and that's what document.ready means. When it is ready, it's going to execute this function, which will be all of our JavaScript. I can put in here alert hi, and when I refresh this, it says hi. Pretty basic. All right. And this $sign right here is how my document knows that I'm using jQuery. The $sign says, oh, this is going to be a jQuery function. Let me do this for them. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, add some space because I like space and everything. And we're going to set up some simple JavaScript just to make that navigation drawer roll out. So what we want to do is add the class of show to the ID of nav. And that way we can just kind of see what we're doing with all this CSS and whatnot. All right, so the first thing I want to do is reference my logo. We're going to have the nav drawer come out whenever this is clicked. So I'm using the class of logo inside of there. I need to put my $sign to begin, say, hey, I'm using jQuery. Open parentheses, put in a quote, and .logo. .logo is going to reference, okay, I'm clicking this class. Anytime, or I'm doing something with this class. In this case, we're clicking it, but you can do a lot of things with it. So we'll say .logo, .click. It's going to be a function. Open and close your parentheses and put a open bracket there. We're going to say, let's start basic here. We'll say alert hi, just so that you know what this is. And in addition to this, I'm going to go ahead and show you what this does. So I refreshed. When I click this, it's going to say hi. It's also going to add this hashtag and nav right there. The reason it's going to do that is because it's trying to navigate to whatever the URL is that we put up. So we have it as hashtag nav. I can actually delete the nav. You don't even need that. So we've got the hashtag set up, and it's just going to append it to the URL. Now, I don't really want to change that URL. All I want to do is alert hi right now. So after I put alert hi inside of this function, I can put in return false. What return false is going to do is make it so that whenever I click this, it's not actually going to try to do anything as a link. It's just going to execute whatever inside of this function, which is alert hi. So if I refresh my page and click it, it'll alert hi, but you'll see it doesn't try to navigate to the URL. It doesn't do anything with the hashtag. So now that we have, you can actually click on it. You can come in here and we will want to add that class of show to our navigation. So I use the same $ open close parentheses because this is what I'm selecting. This is what I'm manipulating. And I want to manipulate my nav element, my nav ID. Let's close that up. And what I want to do is whenever I click it one time, I want to add the class of show. So I could do this, add class show, and I'm going to right click and say inspect element here so you can actually see what's happening. So here's my href class equals logo. By the way, I'm using Chrome. That's how inspect element just worked. So when I click on it, you'll see that the nav down here, this is what you want to pay attention to, it will add the class of show to it. So let's click on it, class of show. Now if I keep clicking on it, it's not going to do anything because class of show is on there. So I want to make it to where when I click on it more, it'll actually close that. And to do that, there is a remove class, but there's also a nifty toggle class. And this is all built inside of the jQuery library. So instead of having to add the class or remove the class based on whether or not it's there, what I can do now is click on it and it will add the class of show. You see it did that right there. And if I click on it again, it will remove that class. And what that's doing, in addition to adding and removing the class, is it's paying attention to what we've set up here in our animation. So Nav Menu is a certain way, but when you add the class of show to that navigation element, it changes what's going to happen to that nav menu. So that gives us a nice sliding effect. It's really neat, works well. And I think that's going to be where I stop right now. So you can get caught up to this point. In the next video, we are going to add in the cat pictures as an example with the HTML, add in some more JavaScript, and get everything prepped for pulling everything in through the API. That's it for now, though. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at simplejohn, as my username is on YouTube. So no I, simplejohn@gmail.com. Thanks a lot.